Let's talk for a minute about working with declared properties. If other objects in your program need access to an instance variable, you'll need to create accessor methods for that particular instance variable. Accessor methods effectively get, using a getter method, and set, using a setter method, the values for an instance variable. For many years, programmers had to code accessor methods themselves, or buy add-on tools that would do it for them. The nice folks in charge of Objective-C came to our collective rescue when they released Objective-C 2.0 with its Declared Properties feature. Now the compiler can write accessor methods for you, according to the direction you give it in the property declaration. It's kind of like getting the smartest kid in your class to do your homework for you. As you'll soon discover, you're sure to use declared properties a lot in your app development work. Objective-C creates the getter and setter methods for you by using a property declaration in the interface file. Here are the @property compiler directives that form the property declaration in this case, myworldappdelegate.h, the header file. You combine these with @synthesize declarations in the implementation file, and they are right here in myworldappdelegate.m. Going back to the header file, we see that there are two properties. The default names for the getter and setter methods associated with the property are whatever the property name is for the getter, which is window, and set whatever property the name is for the setter. We're not using any setter methods, just getter methods. So window and main view controller are the same names. They're both getter methods, and they're same as the property's name. So in order to have the compiler create accessors for you, you add an @property declaration in the interface file, and you add a synthesized statement in the implementation file so that Objective-C generates the accessors. Creating accessor methods is this two-step process, beginning with the @property declaration, which tells the compiler that it's going to have to deal with accessor methods. The @property declaration specifies the name and type of the property and some attributes that provide the compiler with information about exactly how you want the accessor methods to be implemented. For example, this first @property statement declares a property named window, which is a pointer to a UI window object. The UI window class defines objects that manage and coordinate the windows and application displays on the screen. The two principal functions of a window are to provide an area for displaying its views and to distribute events to the views. So this @property declaration declares an accessor method for window and tags it with an IB outlet here so that Interface Builder can discover it. The second declares an access method for main view controller using the same syntax. It declares a property named main view controller, which is a pointer to the main view controller object, which is a subclass of UI view controller. Now, enclosed in parentheses are two attributes, non-atomic and retain. Non-atomic addresses an important technical consideration for multi-threaded systems. Now, you don't have to know that now, and it works fine for applications like the ones you're going to build. Retain directs the compiler to create an accessor method that sends a retain message to any object that is assigned to this property. Properties can have some memory management implications. Every object has its own reference count or retain count. It's your responsibility to maintain that reference count by directly or indirectly increasing the retain count when you're using an object and then decreasing it when you're finished with it. So, while the property declaration tells the compiler that access methods are coming, one if by land, two if by sea, the darn things still have to be created. In the good old days, you had to code these accessor methods yourself, which in a large program was very tedious. Fortunately, Objective-C creates these accessor methods for you whenever you include an @synthesize statement for a property, as you can see in the implementation file here. The synthesize statements direct the compiler to create two accessor methods, one for each property declaration, window and main view controller. The property declaration only informs the compiler that accessors exist. It is the synthesize statement that tells the compiler to create them for you. And in fact, if you didn't use @synthesize and you declared the properties, it would be up to you to implement the methods yourself according to the attributes in the property statement. After you've declared the properties, you can access them from other objects. Now remember, in the header file for myworldappdelegate, we had a retain message. If you want to take advantage of the retain message being sent automatically upon assignment, you have to access the instance variable directly, so you must invoke the accessor method. In this case, I show you a statement that we will be adding to our simple utility program that assigns the string peace on earth to the falling words instance variable we use to animate the view. So we reference underscore main view controller, the property, with dot notation to reference the instance variable. When you use the setter method with a class to assign an object pointer, you don't need to send the object a retain message because the setter method does the retainer for you. Using an accessor method automatically sends the retain message, but you still have to release it when you're done. Properties are not automatically released for you. This is why in your dalloc method in my world app delegates implementation file, we send the object a release message. Release is sent to window, and release is sent to main view controller. There are many times when accessor methods are the best way to do things, especially when you're customizing user interface objects. In a framework, which I talk about elsewhere, the user interface object, which could be a window or a view, really needs to have certain parameters to make it function in the way the user needs. Instead of forcing the developer to subclass it, properties allow it to be tailored to a particular developer's needs. For example, properties can be used to set parameters like color rather than to implement a class responsibility to accept data. And it's also useful for accessing instance variables such as falling words, as I showed before. The instance variables should become properties when they hold information about the state of the object, such as is the window open or closed, or where did the user just drag this object to on the screen, and so on. Except for those and similar circumstances in your own classes, you're much better off avoiding using properties to implement an object's responsibility to accept data from and supply data to other objects. You should define methods that accept or supply data and not use a property that implies structural information about the data.